Good evening, everybody. I really should have titled this particular live stream, The Pope, Pritzker, and Your Property Taxes, but I didn't really think about it before I went on. I really want to talk about property taxes, but I think it's important to just make a mention of the fact that JB Pritzker got to meet with Pope Leo the 14th today at the Vatican, and I'm actually appalled by it all. I don't understand. I mean, other than them being from Chicago, I don't understand why the Pope would want to meet with somebody who is as heinous as JB Pritzker towards the Catholic faith. There's nothing about the Catholic faith that he agrees with, especially its fundamental principles of life. And it's very interesting that on his desk sits the assisted suicide bill. Pritzker has not indicated if he's going to sign it or not. I'm betting that he does sign it. And I do wonder if Pope Leo said anything to him about that particular issue. But the fact that he even took his audience, it's pretty telling. Was it one of those things where you get a lot of these Christian pastors in who say, well, I want to have dialogue with them. I want to, pray with them. I want them to hear me, and I want to hear them. I mean, I don't know why you would even think that JB Pritzker is going to change anything about his behavior and what he advocates for when it comes to core Catholic and Christian principles. By having him in and meeting him, it's actually somebody that you should have just pushed away and said, you know what, you're obviously not at all interested in what we believe in as Catholics, and I'm not interested in meeting with you. That's actually should have been the response by the Pope, in my opinion, because there's no getting to Pritzker. Let's not forget what he started. His Think Big PAC, I think it's a nationwide PAC, was only about the abortion issue. It's only about pushing abortion referendum that is extreme in every single state. And so, I don't know. I have no idea what the Pope was thinking when he met with him, but whatever. On to property taxes, though, which is something that is actually reared its ugly head over the last week, especially in Cook County, that finally received their property tax bills after having been denied them or having them delayed since August. And so now they're all due December 15th, and people are up in arms. As you know, or as many of you might know, Lawndale residents actually put together a bonfire on Saturday night and burned their property tax bills. They torched them. Great, good for them. Glad for them to show that resistance to wanting to pay those bills. They'll have to pay them anyway. Nothing's going to change about that. Oh, no. You pay your property tax bills or your house gets taken by the government and sold at auction. And Illinois is still one of those terrible states where there's no requirement for the people who buy your house at a tax sale because you couldn't pay your property taxes to give you at least the equity back, anything over the amount of taxes due back to you. There's absolutely no requirement for them to do that at all. They can just take your house and all your equity with them. And that's what's been happening. So those people know you can burn your tax bill, but it doesn't matter. You're still going to have to pay for it regardless. So they burned their tax bills. And one of the men, famously, Mr. Tonsel, he actually said that he was looking at some sort of year-over-year increase of $975. I know that the average in Cook County was up over 16%. That's a massive amount. But following that, I talked to some other folks that I know in the Cook County area that also had these reassessments take place. And literally they were saying that their property tax bills went up $3,200 in 1 year. In some cases, they went up $4,200 in 1 year. And those folks are on a fixed income. How do people expect them to just pony up, an extra $750 a month for a property tax bill? Another lady told me that her first installment that she paid earlier this year was about $1,100. Her second installment that is due December 15th is over $5,000. So, I mean, this is just outrageous. I mean, especially for folks on a fixed income, how are they going to afford these massive property tax bills? How does anybody afford these massive property tax bills? But the truth is, this has been an issue for a long time. This is why they came up with PTEL and said that, guess what, local governments, if you're in a PTEL capped organization, mainly school districts in particular counties, you cannot raise your tax levy 5% or the rate of inflation, whichever is lower. And what are these, instead of that being a maximum amount that you can raise your levies at, they treat it as the minimum amount that they're going to raise. They always raise all to that amount. And so in a way of looking at it, it's like you think it's like, well, they can't go higher than that, right? But in reality, they should be able to go much lower if they were to find savings. They never do. Your property taxes always go up in this state. And why is this happening, especially in Cook County and in Chicago specifically? Well, when you have a 28% office vacancy rate, then all that levy is getting pushed from commercial onto residential. It's not that hard. When you decimate the business community, when you overregulate them and they move out, when you have unsafe streets and people start to debunk from Chicago, and I know this for a fact. I have friends who said, oh, you know what? My kids are grown. I want to go to Chicago. It looks like I just want to kind of live that city life now that I don't have to need a suburban house and all the amenities with that. I just want to live in the city, close to good restaurants, close to entertainment. And I know some of those folks have moved back to the suburbs because they don't feel safe in the city of Chicago. So when you don't feel safe, when you're taxed to death, when you now have the highest sales tax rate in the country, which you do in the city of Chicago, guess what? People leave. And when people leave and you can't rent the office space or you can't rent the apartments, you know what happens? The assessments go down. When those assessments go down, those commercial property owners pay less. But guess what? Government doesn't stop spending. In fact, they spend more. And when they do, and they levy that same amount or higher, all of that levy gets pushed to residential. And that's what's happening. So, I mean, I just think that to me, it's kind of like, well, didn't we just listen to this last year? Yes, we did. We had the same conversation. I came to you on a live stream in the same way, but this was about the South Suburban property tax folks who also saw double-digit percentage increases. And I remember specifically telling you about one of the homes where the previous tax bill was about $6,500 and the new tax bill was over $12,000. It went up $5,500 in 1 year for a woman who was retired on a fixed income. And yet that happened last year. And we had this whole like property tax hullabaloo. And every single year, it seems that your state rep, your state senator promises you that you're going to get property tax relief. And every single year they do something very, very small, very de minimis. This year, their big property tax relief was to say that if you're a senior, the senior freeze income level rises from $65,000 to $75,000. And if you have income under that, then your property taxes will be frozen at a particular level. That's all they did this year. They did not do broad property tax reform at all. And that's what we need. And have people figured that out yet? Are you ready for it or not? Because if you're ready for it, then you got to stop voting for the Democrats because they are blocking it every single time. Oops, sorry. Dropped my phone there. Anyway, I just thought that, while this is a hot issue, it's been a hot issue last year. It was a hot issue 2 years ago. It was a hot issue 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We have been talking about property taxes and how enormously high they are for 3 decades. And they're still high. And now under Governor Pritzker, they're the highest in the nation, the highest in the country. So, I mean, unless you're going to change your voting habits, we're never going to get change on this topic. I'll have much more to say about this and more specifics. And I'll be talking to Sean Thompson on my radio program this Sunday because we're going to talk about what Florida's doing about property taxes compared to what Illinois is doing. And that's going to be a great conversation. We'll also talk about how New Yorkers are moving to Florida. He's got a lot of information on that as he is a realtor in Florida as well. So you're not going to want to miss that conversation. Join me Sunday on WIND AM 560 from 7 to 9 p.m. See you then. Thanks for joining this Facebook Live. You're safe.